Microsurveys, essentially, they provide real-time feedback with Chameleon. They're designed to be good UX by default because you only can have one step. As much as you want to have like 8 things you want to ask a user, you have to figure out what's the most important thing right now. And what it allows you to do is, instead of having 8 questions at once, you can pepper those questions over time. So you can say, okay, well, I want to learn these 8 things about a user, but what I'll do is I'll create 8 microsurveys and I'll set the rate limit so that only one shows up every week. And so that way, over time, you can collect this information. So it feels a bit more conversational. And it doesn't feel like I'm having to invest a lot, as a user, invest a lot of time into this feedback right now, but I can do it and it makes sense. So they're pretty powerful for that. We do have really high, average completion, which is 50 to 60%. If it is low, there's probably some reasons. It's not relevant to the user. They don't care about the question you're asking. They don't understand why you're asking the question. They don't see any value for them to answer that question. So think about, how do you frame the question? Can you frame it like, hey, we're improving this product for you. Can you give feedback? Or, hey, we want to give you more personalized resources. What's your role? So really think about, is it the whole group? Do they all need to be surveyed in this way?
It's just simply, for example, like don't show a microsurvey to somebody about a new product feature that you know they haven't tried yet, right? I mean, hey, how'd you like that product? How do you like our new product feature? Well, that's the wrong microsurvey. You'd want to use a different mechanism to get them to try the new feature, and then you can ask them about the feature. And I think people just don't take the steps to plan out the moments at which they're going to touch the consumer and segment the consumers in a way that's going to increase that completion rate. Because the thing is, 60% seems great, but that's an average. I bet you if you looked at in a cohort of people that had tried the feature or hadn't tried the feature, the completion rate is going to be much higher for those that had tried the feature, if that's the thing that you're looking for feedback on.
So I think just getting smarter about using the data, trying to personalize it. What we want to do is we want to reduce the fatigue that people get by answering. Let's get as focused as possible, improve the signal to noise, and then not be noisy for anyone else.
Yeah, and look, you don't need a micro survey for every little thing, right? What's the point of the survey? And was the question that's being asked relevant to you growing your business? And I think oftentimes you're like, well, let's just ask the customers. Well, okay, do we really need to ask everybody this? Or can we look at the data and figure it out? And so I think that using those two things in conjunction are very important, and focusing on not only the users that are most likely to provide valid responses, but also not sending it to everybody that's using your product or app, because you're going to get a lot of noise in that as well.
Yeah, exactly. One other thing about microsurveys I'll mention is that we've seen value in an integration with Slack. And so what you can do is feed your responses that people are giving into a Slack channel. And that can be really effective for making the rest of your team more aware of what's going on, what the user sentiment is. And you can set up different Slack channels for different kinds of surveys, or you can feed some surveys into like a product or a beta Slack channel. But it's just a good way to provide visibility. So it's not all like, hey, someone has to go and do the analysis separately in their own room and then share the results, but just people can learn at the same time. So would recommend that too as well.